Hello everyone, Weather Jamaica here. Welcome to this updated video on the weather across Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean. It is Thursday evening, August 8, 2024. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you guys like the video. I'd really appreciate it if you guys get this video up to 100 likes. If you don't know by now, that's how the YouTube algorithm works. We all like the video and then the YouTube algorithm pushes the video out to more persons who are in the path of these tropical systems so we can keep everyone safe, especially during the peak of Atlantic hurricane season. That's August through to October. Share this video with your friends, your co-workers, your relatives, and even your church brethren, and subscribe if you haven't yet done so. Leave a comment down below letting me know what the weather has been like in your area recently. Also, feel free to ask any weather related question that you might have about the future of the weather in your specific area. Alright, so first things first, let us take a look at the Atlantic hurricane and tropical storm activity based on data from 1944 to 2020. And considering that we're now heading into the second week of August, activity is definitely expected to ramp up. We can see the hurricane activity in the yellows, the hurricane and tropical storm activity in the reds. So it's just going to be going downhill from here in terms of bad weather. So September, the peak of Atlantic hurricane season, we're definitely going to be expecting some kind of system in the Atlantic, hopefully not hitting land by that time, but usually around September 10 there's usually something spinning out there. So hurricane and tropical storm activity definitely about to skyrocket across the Atlantic. And if we take a look at this map right here showing where we've had tropical storms forming during the time period from August 1 to August 10, keep in mind that this is data from about 1850 to about 2009. And we can see that even especially across the main development region between Africa and the Caribbean, we've had a lot of storms forming, most of which have to do with tropical waves coming off of Africa pushing from east-west. Look at even that little cluster right there across the eastern Caribbean. Definitely a bad situation, but considering that we're about to wrap up the first 10 days of August, let's hope that nothing actually forms within that time period, even although the Hurricane Center has highlighted something out there that we're going to be talking about shortly. Either way, we know the typical origin and tracks for these systems in the month of August, definitely across the main development region, pushing into the Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico. If not making it into the Caribbean, maybe clipping the Leeward Islands and then possibly heading into the Bahamas, Florida, or curving out to sea before it hit the United States. And we know that the main driver of these very robust tropical systems this year is the very warm sea surface temperature anomalies. We can see this map right here showing the latest as of August 7, and we still see that the waters are very warm. The yellows, the gold, the oranges, definitely a bad situation across the Atlantic in general. And we can see the La Nina trying to take shape. It's actually neutral right now, but remember we had neutral conditions and we still had Beryl in general. And remember how bad Beryl was coming into the Windward Islands and affecting portions of Jamaica as a major hurricane in general. So it doesn't take a La Nina for us to have bad weather, just neutral conditions. We know we're just coming out of an El Nino. El Nino is when we have very warm waters across the eastern to the central Pacific that causes even more thunderstorms and rising air across this part of the world, thus causing more in the way of wind shear that we know tears these thunderstorms apart. Wind shear across the Atlantic in general, but we don't have that at all this year. Definitely all systems go for this season with the neutral conditions heading into a La Nina pattern. So even more rising air is going to be focused across the Atlantic and more sinking air across the Pacific. So although the Pacific has been ramping up a bit recently, that is going to be dying down, especially as we head into the peak for us here in the Atlantic. And we need to keep in mind that it's not only the sea surface temperatures, how warm the waters are at the skin of the ocean, but how warm the waters are, the depth that we go. And we can see even especially around Cuba, the Cayman Islands, Jamaica, where we have those darker reds. The the waters are very warm there the deeper we go into the ocean. So even if these systems stall out into a specific spot and they suck up all of the very warm waters of the Atlantic, is still going to be having a lot of warm water to work with the deeper into the ocean that we go, especially near Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, and Cuba. That's where we have the warmest deep water right there. So it's definitely going to be a very bad situation if a system takes advantage of that and stalls out. If we take a look at the U.S. National Hurricane Center 7-day graphical tropical weather outlook, we can see that we still have Debbie, which has now been downgraded back to a tropical depression. It was a tropical storm when it was out to sea yesterday, but we see that it has made landfall again across the U.S. It's now packing maximum sustained winds of 35 miles per hour, and it is moving towards the northwest at 10 miles per hour, and it's expected to shoot off towards the northeast eventually. But enough about Debbie now. Let us focus our attention on this brand new area that was highlighted this morning. This morning it was a code yellow. Now it's a code orange as of the latest update from the 7:31 p.m. update from the Hurricane Center. That's the 6:31 p.m. Jamaica time update. We see that they've given it now a 50% chance of cyclone formation within the next 7 days. According to the Hurricane Center, they've stated a tropical wave located over the tropical Atlantic, several hundred miles west-southwest of the Cabo Verde Islands, is producing widespread disorganized showers and thunderstorms. Any development of this wave should be slow to occur during the next couple of days while it moves westward across the central tropical Atlantic. Afterwards, conditions are expected to become more conducive for development, and the tropical depression could form while it approaches the Lesser Antilles by early next week. The system is then forecast to gradually move generally west-northwestward and could approach the Greater Antilles by the middle part of next week. And they have given it a 0% chance of cyclone formation within the next 48 hours, that's the next 2 days, and a 50% chance of cyclone formation within the next 7 days. And we're going to be looking at what the models are showing. So we know these supercomputer models first, the Euro and the GFS. The Euro is the ECMWF. The GFS is the North American or the US model. And we're going to be looking at this time frame right here, and we're going to be focusing our attention on this area right here where the system is expected to come in. And we're just going to be going out to the next 168 hours, that's the next 7 days, to see exactly what's going to be unfolding. And we're going to be looking for an area like this that we're seeing with Debbie, with the isobars and the contour lines and the moisture, the greens, the yellows, oranges, reds, that have to do with a lot of rainfall. So we're going to be seeing it coming in from the main development region right here. Just for reference, we have Jamaica right here. Alright, so let's begin going out in time to see exactly what unfolds on the Euro, and we're going to be looking for what the GFS is showing at the same timestamps as well. So let's go out in time and let's see what's unfolding. Yes, we have numerous tropical waves, a lot of moisture coming into the Caribbean, but look at that. We start to see the moisture associated with that tropical wave coming into portions of the Lesser Antilles. We see an L there that represents an area of low pressure as well. The greens represent an amount of heavy rainfall, even the yellows as well. And this is valid for 6Z on Tuesday, August 13. That's about 1 a.m. on Tuesday. And if we go out in time, we see exactly what unfolds. It's trying to get its act together. As we head out into the next 168 hours, we see the isobars, the lines of equal pressure, and we see that it's starting to head into portions of Puerto Rico, the Lesser Antilles, the Leeward Islands. And we see right there, it's starting to thread the needle between the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico right there. Then by the end of the 168 hours, it pushes to the north. But we need to take this forecast with a grain of salt, because even the earlier model runs from the ECMWF, keep in mind that this is 12Z run. This is the midday run today. Even the run from last night was showing more of a track into portion of the Greater Antilles. So we know how these things go. These models are forever changing, and we have to stay updated to see exactly what unfolds, because we might just wake up tomorrow and the models have the system hitting Hispaniola Haiti, Dominican Republic, and possibly heading closer to Jamaica. We definitely have to stay updated. Let's see what the GFS is showing for the same time period. So we see a lot of moisture coming into the Caribbean, lots of tropical waves, lots of troughs. So it's definitely going to be a wet week coming up in general. And we see the system right here a bit stronger on the GFS than what we're seeing on the Euro, coming into portions of Puerto Rico, not going in between the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico like what the Euro was showing, moving more north. So we kind of see some consensus that it could miss the Greater Antilles in general, but this is just for right now. We know these models can definitely change. So we see at the end of the 168 hours, they're almost in the same place by Thursday. So this on the GFS is 18Z on Thursday, which is actually 1 p.m. on Thursday. This on the Euro is actually 12Z on Thursday, which is actually 7 a.m. on Thursday. And we kind of see them in the same spot right there to the north of the Dominican Republic. The GFS a bit stronger with the air pressure about 979 millibars. And we see some tighter isobars right there to signify that it could be a strong tropical storm, if not a hurricane. The Euro a bit less robust, showing more so something that looks like tropical storm status with the heaviest weather up to the east. We'll see exactly what unfolds. We know these models, when it comes to these systems, the intensity forecasting is not their strong suit, but we're looking for the consensus, and they're definitely showing that there's something coming, there's something forming, and we know how these things goes. Tropical waves become tropical depressions, then become tropical storms and hurricanes. So we have to stay updated, and we definitely have to stay updated to see if they continue on this very path, because we know that they can change, especially if we have a strong high pressure ridge to the north to steer it west. As for right now, we see a cold front right here, and this is what's going to be pulling on the system to the north. We'll see if that actually unfolds within the next 7 days, because we know these things can change. On another note, we have a post here from Ben Noel. He's actually a meteorologist at the National Institute of Water and Atmospheric Research in New Zealand, and from time to time he makes some accurate posts about what's happening across the Atlantic. And remember, in May he made a post about what would happen in June regarding hurricane activity, and then we had Beryl at the end of June into early July. And he just made this post today at around 6:30 a.m. and he stated, "Hurricane season. The latest weekly guidance has a very favorable look for the Atlantic and Africa in the weeks ahead. A pulse of convection in the green colors will give a boost to a disturbance moving into the Caribbean next week." And he's talking about that same system that the Hurricane Center has highlighted. This one certainly bears watching for the US in about 10 days. Not only the US, but even the Eastern Caribbean. The next hurricane name on the list is Ernesto. Easterly waves coming off of Africa will be invigorated by a standing wave over the continent, one that looks to stick around for at least several weeks. The pattern continues to look favorable into September, particularly as the Eastern Pacific remains suppressed. Buckle up, it looks like the Atlantic is gearing up for a relentless race to the height of hurricane season. And this was what he highlighted, this GIF right here, showing the greens and blues that represent rising air that has to do with thunderstorms. And we know all of that has to do with the tropical waves becoming tropical depressions, if not tropical storms. We know the oranges with the greens embedded in them have to do with a lot of sinking air. Sinking air is what the storms don't want at all, because they prevent or prohibit development. And we're just going to be going out in time. So it is August 8 today. So we're looking at August 9 to August 16, and we're starting to see a lot of rising air in the greens and blues right there across Africa and the main development region. So it's just going to be getting even more downhill, and we can already see the rising air taking shape. A lot of clouds, showers and thunderstorms from Africa across the main development region. Granted, it has to do with a lot of tropical waves as well as the intertropical convergence zone, but it's definitely trying to get its act together. And as we go out in time, just like what he stated, it's a standing wave, so it's definitely going to be sitting across Africa and sending these tropical waves into the main development region and into the Caribbean. And we see the time frame from August 16 to August 23 is still showing a similar pattern. Even August 23 to August 30, we still have the standing wave across Africa. And even August 30 to September 7, we still have a similar pattern. So we better buckle up as we head into the peak of Atlantic hurricane season, because it's about to get very busy. If we take a look at the surface map of the Atlantic for this evening, we can see a tropical wave right here across the Western Caribbean. That was the same tropical wave that the Hurricane Center highlighted earlier in the week, if not last weekend. That had a low chance of development, but it's definitely a lashing portion of Nicaragua, Honduras, Costa Rica right now, and it's expected to move into the Eastern Pacific and possibly develop over that side. We can see another tropical wave right here affecting portions of northeastern South America, and the other tropical wave that the Hurricane Center has highlighted right there to the west-southwest of the Cabo Verde Islands. If we take a look back at the visible satellite images of the Atlantic before the sun went down, we can see the clouds associated with Debbie still spinning away right there across the eastern portion of the United States, bringing overcast skies and showers. We can also see the clouds associated with that tropical wave affecting portions of Nicaragua, Honduras, Costa Rica right there. We can see the clouds associated with that other tropical wave affecting portions of the northeastern sections of South America, and the clouds associated with the other tropical wave right here. A lot of clouds associated with it to the southwest of the Cabo Verde Islands, and this is the one that we're watching for development as it pushes towards the west-northwest. And I'll definitely be here to keep you posted on what unfolds. Alright, so we're going to be talking more about the rest of the Caribbean later on. Let us focus our attention on the prediction that was made in yesterday's video about the weather across Jamaica for today, Thursday, August 8th. It was stated that we would have received some morning rainfall across eastern Jamaica. As a matter of fact, if you remember yesterday's video, we also highlighted that the southeasterly or the east-southeasterly flow would have brought some rainfall to sections of southern Jamaica as well, and we definitely had that last night into Thursday morning, just as predicted. And we also predicted that we would have had some rainfall across sections of some northern and western parishes on Thursday afternoon. And just for reference, we know eastern parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Surrey. So Portland, St. Thomas, Kingston, St. Andrew. Western parishes, I know we're talking about those parishes in the county of Cornwall. So St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland, Hanover, St. James, and Trelawney. While northern parishes, we're talking about those parishes on top. So Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, St. Anne, St. Mary, Portland. While southern parishes, we're talking about those parishes like St. Thomas, Kingston, St. Andrew, St. Catherine, Clarendon, Manchester, St. Elizabeth, and Westmoreland. And what ended up happening? At around 7:46 a.m., a post was made here on our Twitter page at Weather Jamaica. And I want for you to keep in mind that these posts aren't only made here on our Twitter page, but on our Instagram page at weather.jamaica, on our TikTok page at Weather Jamaica, and on our Facebook page at Weather Jamaica 876. So if you have one of those social media platforms, please ensure that you follow us there, as we make posts throughout the day that you can't afford to miss. So the visible satellite image was posted at around 7:46 a.m. and it highlighted the clouds bringing overcast skies and some showers, as well as some thunderstorms in sections of some southern parishes. So sections of Kingston, St. Andrew, St. Catherine, Clarendon, Manchester, St. Elizabeth, even sections of St. Thomas got in on some morning rainfall. And we definitely have some confirmation from some of our followers. Right here on our Facebook page, we have Gavin Thompson. We definitely got some rain this morning in Maypen. Even on our Instagram page, where the comments coming in. Your honeypot fix stating it's 10:47, raining here in Portmore. Dr. C_Johnson stating it's raining in Kingston. And even on our Instagram page, where the comments coming in. User.250404 stating woke up to rain in Old Brayton, Portmore, loving it. Edwards Tanisha stating getting it in South Manchester, my parents getting it in Clarendon. And another post was made at around 12:05 p.m. highlighting what was taking place in the afternoon. So the rainfall definitely that was predicted for the afternoon actually came through fruition. We saw the thunderstorms across sections of some northern parishes and western parishes as well. We even had some isolated showers across northern portions of some southern parishes. A section of northern Clarendon, section of Manchester got in on some afternoon rainfall too. So we see the sparkling yellow dots that represent some amount of lightning strikes, if not lightning flashes, and we definitely had that across section of St. Anne, St. Mary, section of St. James, Hanover definitely got in under the thunderstorm activity during the afternoon. And we definitely have confirmation. Nayoka Michael stating raining in her area. Anna and Marie 2640 stating got a little rain in St. James not long ago. So we definitely had the thunderstorms for northern Jamaica just as predicted. And even if we rewind the clock on See Jamaica's YouTube channel, by the way, if you don't know by now, we have a partnership with this channel. They show live streams of the corporate area, City View, Crossroads, Halfway Tree, the Kingston Harbor, the Bagua Gorge, and they've just they just installed a brand new camera in the Barbican area. So they're definitely trying to, put more cameras up and around the island, and we're all here for that. So we saw that even on the Crossroads camp at around 10:31 a.m. we definitely had some rainfall coming in. We see the rainfall moving from right to left right here. Definitely some windy, rainy weather, and some persons right there, their umbrellas, cars moving about with their windshield wipers on. So they definitely had some moderate to heavy rainfall at that time period, 10:31 a.m. Definitely confirming the rainfall for the morning. Look at that, even up into maybe up to New Kingston might have gotten some of that rainfall. And if we take a look at the Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology's accumulated precipitation for the past 24 hours, we can see that this map is definitely painting a picture of where we had the rainfall, definitely across southern Jamaica, especially in the morning, then across northern Jamaica during the afternoon. And although this map isn't 100% accurate, it does paint quite the picture of where we had the rainfall as well. If we take a look at the visible satellite images of Jamaica before the sun went down, we can definitely see that we still had some leftover clouds across sections of some northern and western parishes, bringing more sun with overcast skies than anything else. And if we take a look at the very latest, as a matter of fact, before we look at the latest, we can see what took place. We definitely had the buildup of cloud showers and thunderstorms across sections of some northern parishes. We see the high cold cloud tops as represented by the blues, greens, yellows, oranges, reds, and even the sparkling white dots that we know represents a amount of lightning strikes, if not lightning flashes, across northern Jamaica. So definitely, section of Hanover, Westmoreland, section of St. James, Trelawney, St. Anne, St. Mary got in on that thunderstorm activity. And if we reload these images to get the very latest to see what's happening right now, we can see that there's not much taking place across the central eastern portion of the island, but we still have some leftover clouds across section of the west, so section of St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland, Hanover, St. James might be overcast in a way, not seeing the stars as clearly. And if we take a look at the Doppler radar images, here we go. So earlier today, before it glitched out again for the millionth time, we saw where we had that rainfall as represented by the greens, yellows, oranges, the moderate to heavy rainfall across the northwest right there. But as of right now, we're not seeing anything much, considering that the radar is glitched out at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's actually 1:30 p.m. Jamaica time. Hopefully the Cuban radar site gets sorted out shortly. Unfortunately, the Met Service of Jamaica's Doppler radar is still not up and running. Hopefully they get it sorted out before the hurricane season ends. If we take a look at the temperatures right now, we can see we have 27 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 29 degrees Celsius in Kingston, and by about 4 a.m. on Friday, the temperature should dip down to about 25 degrees Celsius in both Montego Bay and Kingston. If we take a look at the temperature forecast for tomorrow, this map from the GFS is showing 18D on Friday. When we calculate that, that's 1 p.m. on Friday. And we see Jamaica right here embedded in some yellow colors, and we can see by the key on the right that the yellow colors are representative of up to 1 degree Celsius above normal temperatures. And we know the normal temperatures for the month of August across Jamaica are about the same as July, 91 degrees Fahrenheit. And take a look at the thermometer, 91 degrees Fahrenheit is about the same as 32.7 degrees Celsius. That's when it's calculated. So we should be receiving anywhere from 32 to 33 degrees Celsius at most for Jamaica's temperature on Friday, considering that we're going to be experiencing at least a 1 degree Celsius rise above normal. So please ensure that you stay out of the sun during peak hours and stay hydrated as much as possible. As it relates to the Saharan dust forecast for 2 p.m. on Friday, we can see all the browns that represent the Saharan dust stretching all the way from Africa across the main development region into the Caribbean. We can see Jamaica right here, not getting in on that vigorous plume like what the Eastern Caribbean is currently getting in on. And we're grateful for that. So 2 p.m. on Friday, we're going to be getting in on some slight haze, but it won't be that robust because the very hazy skies are trigger some amount of respiratory illnesses in some persons at all. But we know all of this is eventually going to be pushing from east-west, all courtesy of the ridge of high pressure to the north. So it's eventually going to be making it to us. So ensure that you have your meds ready. If we take a look at the wave forecast for tomorrow, as usual, majority of the Caribbean getting in on those lighter shades of blues to darker shades of blues that we can see by the key on the bottom right that represents anywhere from 0.5 meter wave height to 1.5 meter wave height. And that's because majority of the Caribbean is going to be getting in on those green colors that represent anywhere from 15 to 20 knots. And we see the general flow from the east across the Caribbean. And if we take a look at the close-up of Jamaica in terms of the winds, we can definitely see what's going to be unfolding. We see the flow of the winds coming in from the east tomorrow. We see that on the north coast, we see that on the south coast, kind of curving northward right here. And we also see that the air is going to be piling up across sections of some central and western parishes. We know what usually happens. Wherever we have the air piling up, that's where we're going to be having those cumulus clouds becoming mid-level rain clouds, if not upper-level cumulonimbus clouds. So we're going to be having the daytime heating, bringing some rainfall to sections of some central and western parishes as usual. And it looks to be that it might be affecting southern parishes more so than northern parishes. So we're getting a kind of pattern change because we know recently with the southeasterly flow, it has been favoring northern Jamaica for the afternoon, southern Jamaica for the morning. But there's a change coming with the easterly flow, central and western Jamaica with more focus on some southern parishes. So get ready for that afternoon rainfall. And we can even see the Euro and the GFS models right here confirming the rainfall for that time period. This map from the Euro and this map from the GFS are both showing 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 2 p.m. Jamaica time. And we see the blues that represent rainfall across where? Especially central and western parishes, where we see especially these darker blues and greens that represent some even heavy rainfall. So look out for that. We know when both of them are in consensus or in agreement like this, the chances for the rainfall are higher. So definitely some rainfall. We see that across maybe sections of Kingston, St. Andrew. Don't hang your hat on it just in case we don't get it. But definitely for sure, sections of Clarion and Manchester, St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland gonna be getting in on the rainfall. And we see that both the Euro and the GFS models are in consensus with that. And even the accumulated precipitation forecast from the Euro and the GFS are in consensus. Keep in mind that both of these maps are showing all the rainfall that's expected from now up until 3Z on Saturday. When that's calculated, that's about 10 p.m. on Friday. So all the rainfall that's expected from now up until 10 p.m. on Friday is being shown here on the Euro model right here, the GFS model right here. And we see some disagreement and we see some consensus. But we're indeed grateful we're going to be getting on some rainfall to cool down the temperatures. So we see the Euro right here showing up to what? Up to at least 0.5 of an inch of rainfall, maybe close to 0.75 with the rates across the northeast right there. The GFS a bit different, showing more of the rainfall across the western portion of the island, up into the orange colors, maybe up to what? 0.5 of an inch of rainfall. Either way, we'll take it. We're in the month of August. We usually receive an increase in the amount of rainfall compared to what we usually get in July. We see Kingston's bar graph right here at the top, Montego Bay's bar graph right here at the bottom. Montego Bay's bar graph is showing the rainfall in inches. Kingston's bar graph is showing the rainfall in millimeters. Clearly, Montego Bay gets more rainfall, considering 5 inches of rainfall is what they usually get during the month of August. Kingston usually gets almost 100 millimeters of rainfall. And you can do the math yourself, considering that 1 inch of rainfall is about the same as 25 millimeters of rainfall. So 4 inches is about the same as 100 millimeters of rainfall. So clearly Montego Bay gets more rainfall, considering that they're up into the almost 5 inches range, and that's about the same as 125 millimeters of rainfall. Also, you can do the math yourself, and you can visit weatherandclimate.com to find out about your specific parish's annual rainfall. Alright, so that is it for the forecast across Jamaica. Let us focus our attention on the rest of the Caribbean. So we don't see anything that significant happening across the Caribbean right now. Just some stray clouds with some isolated showers embedded in them. Some light to moderate rainfall for the most part across the eastern Caribbean. Some isolated thunderstorms might have taken place across section of western Puerto Rico, Haiti, Dominican Republic, Cuba. Some leftover showers associated with troughs across the Bahamas, the thunderstorms associated with the tropical wave across Honduras, El Salvador, Guatemala, Nicaragua, Costa Rica. Not much taking place at all across the eastern Caribbean, but we do see the thunderstorms as usual across northern and South America. And if we take a look at the Doppler radar images of the northeastern Caribbean, we're going to be seeing what's happening. Some hit or miss isolated showers as of 35 minutes past this hour, 7:35 p.m. We see the greens represent some light to moderate rainfall, touching all the way from the waters in and around Guadeloupe, Antigua and Barbuda, St. Barth, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Martin, the Eastern British Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico. We see a nice thunderstorm cell right there to the southwest of Puerto Rico. And if we take a look at the Barbados radar, we do see some rainfall coming in from the east, some of which is affecting Barbados as we speak. Some of it could definitely affect sections of Martinique, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Grenada, sections of Trinidad and Tobago as well. If we take a look at the wide view of Doppler radar images, we can see some rainfall coming into portions of the Yucatan Peninsula, some rainfall affecting sections of northwestern Honduras, Guatemala. We also see some rainfall on the Cayman radar, portions of Cuba, sections of northern Venezuela, Colombia, Suriname, French Guiana as well. And that's related to the rainfall that's expected within the next 24 hours. We see the Euro and the GFS model right here showing all the rainfall that's expected from now up until 10 p.m. on Friday. Not saying that's going to be raining from now all the way up until then, but these are the spots that are going to be picking up the most in the way of rainfall, wherever we have the more colors. So anything from the purples to the reds, the oranges, that's anywhere from 0.5 of an inch of rainfall all the way up to 3 inches of rainfall. But the greens to the yellows, more so isolated showers, anywhere from 0.1 of an inch of rainfall all the way up to 0.3 of an inch of rainfall. And we do see that there's going to be some rainfall in store, as we can see, but both the Euro and the GFS models are in consensus with this forecast. So some rainfall in store for sections of the Bahamas, Cuba, Jamaica, Haiti, the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, the Leeward Islands, so St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Martin, St. Barth, Antigua and Barbuda, Anguilla, Guadeloupe, Dominica, Martinique, St. Lucia, sections of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Barbados, Grenada. If they're not already receiving that rainfall, it's definitely coming before 10 p.m. on Friday. We also see some rainfall in store for sections of Venezuela, Guyana, Suriname, French Guiana, Colombia, Panama, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Honduras, El Salvador, Guatemala, sections of Belize, the Yucatan Peninsula, and even portions of the Cayman Islands. And we see that both the Euro and the GFS models are in consensus with this forecast. And we know that when they're in consensus like this, the chances of actually happening are much higher. Alright, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching.